We may readily see that in Vril waste and dissipation, we have the secret of that curse of the age known as neurasthenia, or nervous prostration. This is not the result of overwork, as is generally supposed, but is the result of overworry, undue tension, and lack of mental balance and poise, which serve to waste the life forces, the vital energies, or Vril. To overcome this trouble, it is first necessary to recognize its cause, and then to counteract the cause by following the course directly opposed to it. We trust that in this book we have explained the former and pointed the way toward the latter. Lesson 12. The Psychic Phase of Vril. It is not our purpose to enter into a detailed discussion of mental science, psychic phenomena, or occultism in this book. In the preceding books of this series, we have dwelt upon this subject in some detail, and we must refer thereto the student who is specially interested in this particular field of the teaching. But our consideration of the subject of Vril would be too incomplete did we not at least call attention to the part played by Vril in the phenomena generally called as psychic, mental science, or occult. Therefore, we shall in this lesson point out in a general way the office and function of Vril in such phenomena. Psychic influence. In the various phases of what is known as psychic influence, or the effect of the mind of one person over that of another, Vril plays an important part. In the degree that the thought projections, thought waves, or thought vibrations, or whatever term may be used, are charged with Vril, so is their effect upon the person receiving them. Just as the degree of clearness and the sound of the telephone depends materially upon the strength of the current operating on the system, so does the strength of the Vril current materially determine the power of the thought vibrations sent from one person to another, whether over a short or long distance. In fact, point out in a general way the office and function of Vril in such phenomena. Psychic influence. In the various phases of what is known as psychic influence, or the effect of the mind of one person over that of another, Vril plays an important part. In the degree that the thought projections, thought waves, or thought vibrations, or whatever term may be used, are charged with Vril, so is their effect upon the person receiving them. Just as the degree of clearness and the sound of the telephone depends materially upon the strength of the current operating on the system, so does the strength of the Vril current materially determine the power of the thought vibrations sent from one person to another, whether over a short or long distance. In fact, Vril is the real force or energy in all manifestation of thought force, the mind merely serving to project that force by the will and to color it by the idea or feeling held in the mind. The thought sent forth is colored and charged with Vril by the strength of the feeling or desire manifested in the majority of cases. But the trained mental scientist or occultist uses his direct willpower to accomplish the same result, using precisely the same method that he does in directing and distributing the Vril to parts of his own body, or to the body of another person when he is giving personal psychic treatments, as described in preceding lessons. This fact, understood in connection with what we have said on the subject in the other books of the series above mentioned, gives one the complete key to psychic influence, mental science treatments, and other occult phenomena in which mind acts upon mind or body over a distance. The general principle is the same in all of these cases. Persons may be treated by sending them thoughts of strength and vitality, or of courage and success, charged with strong currents of Vril, impelled by the will of the sender. In the same way, one may send to another direct currents of Vril, and thus increase his or her vitality, energy, force, and power. Telepathic messages may be increased in power by charging him with an increased supply of Vril. Thought forms sent forth in a manner familiar to occultists may be energized and vitalized by charging them with the dynamic force of Vril. The student who is interested in this phase of the matter should study carefully the lesson, Mentalism in a Nutshell, in the book of this series entitled The Arcane Formulas. Self-protection. In the same way, the self-protection by thought auras, psychic armor, etc., familiar to all occultists, may be wonderfully increased by charging the protective thought force with a strong current of Vril. The ideative power of the mind and the will are used in this process. By forming a strong mental image of the presence of the protective thought aura surrounding the body, and which is rendered dynamic by currents of Vril, the occultist may surround himself with an armor of protection that will defy all attacks on the part of others. In the same way, one may use Vril in connection with the thought atmosphere with which he surrounds himself, and which gives the keynote to the attitude of the other persons toward him. He may create this mental atmosphere by the character of the thoughts held by him, his mental attitude, or his affirmations, according to the system followed by him, and in either case he may greatly increase the power of his mental atmosphere by charging it with Vril according to the general method which we have repeatedly mentioned in this book, visualization and willpower. This is the explanation of that peculiar force or power which we feel emanating or flowing from the presence of strong individuals, a force or power which strikes us with almost a physical impact. As we have already said, we do not propose entering into a detailed consideration of psychic phenomena in this book. In the above mention of Vril, in this connection, we have given in a few words and in simple form an occult secret which should prove very valuable to all occultists who are already not acquainted with it and who have been contenting themselves by merely using thought in their psychic experiments or work. It will be found that this use of Vril will prove to be the missing keystone, which is essential to give to the whole psychic arc that strength, unity, and power which it needs. The student will find that it may be added or adapted to any of the many systems of occult practice with which students of the subject may be familiar. It is an attachment which may be used in connection with any or all system, old or new, ancient or modern. In this matter, as in any number of others in this book, we have given you the spirit of a great occult method or system in a few plain words. We have condensed it and given you the essence. We have stated the whole thing in a nutshell. Once more we warn you not to overlook the value and importance of the thing by reason of its simplicity and plainness. Final advice. You have now read this book through in a more or less hasty way. You have seen some things which have attracted you and which you have decided to apply in your own life and work, but you have missed many other things of equal or perhaps greater value. Therefore, we ask that you lay this book aside for a few days and mentally assimilate that which you have learned from it. Then take it up again and carefully reread and restudy it from beginning to end. Much to your surprise, you will find that there are many things in it which you have entirely overlooked. Also that many things will appear to you in a new light and with an added meaning. A week or so later, read and study it for a third time, and you'll have a like result. You will not begin to understand the real value of this principle announced in this book in less than the 3 reading above advised. In this connection, you should reread and restudy the other books of the series, and each will serve to throw light on the others. The arcane teaching is based upon certain general principles which are immanent in every branch and every phase of it. Each phase blends into the other. Thus does the teaching present a unity and a harmony when each phase is studied and considered in relation to the others. In conclusion, let us use words once before used in this series. O neophyte, in the center of life shalt thou indeed find poise and power. In the heart of the storm shalt thou find peace. He who finds the center of himself finds the center of the cosmos, for at last they are one. End of chapter, end of book. This audio presentation of Vril, or Vital Magnetism, by William Walker Atkinson has been brought to you by audioenlightenment.com. Copyright 2015, all rights reserved.
And the book was published in 1909.